Hey everyone, Christian here from CK Wraps. I'm going to show you how to wrap these two doors in Vivid Gloss Rose Gold Chrome. This is a new product by Vivid. Super clear film, super easy to use, very stretchable, very conformable, doesn't require a lot of heat. So we've taken the surface, we've wiped it down with isopropyl alcohol. We've also clay ragged the surface to make sure there's no contaminants. And we've taken a compressor and blown away all the contaminants that are in the surrounding area. We've masked off all the edges using blue painter's tape. You can use masking tape. It helps with sliding the vinyl off or trimming on those edges so that we can tuck the vinyl into the recesses. So we have our piece of gloss rose gold chrome here. You know this is a genuine Vivid product because it has Vivid written all over the back of it. Right now it says XPO. It will change to Premium Plus, so you'll know you'll have a Premium Plus product. So what I'm going to do is make sure you have your magnets handy, and we're going to get this into position for the most part. So just generally where we need it, I'm going to have to splice this panel right in half. Once I know that I have full coverage. All right. So we're good on the bottom. We're overlapping that silver trim piece, which is masked off right now. We're good on the top, we're good on all the sides. Now we can position this film, it's cut longer, so we can position it to the left or to the right more if we need to. So once we do cut right down the middle here, we're going to find that door gap without using our finger. And once we cut right down the middle, we can position these two panels with a little bit of overlap so that we can actually tuck in a little bit nicer. This car actually has a rubber seal in between this panel right here, so we don't even have to tuck in that far. It's super easy to do. All right, so what I'm going to do is remove the capping. We have to remove this in order to be able to install the film properly. Left a little bit on top, there we go. We'll get that out of the way. So we have our line, we're going to have to trim this film right down that line. I know I have plenty of excess because the edge of where the door meets the fender is right here. I can position this back if I need to. So I'm using a blade. As you can see, you can use a snitty. It helps to ensure that you're not going to cut the paint, but I'm keeping my eye on where I'm cutting. We'll take our magnets, we'll stick this back on, and finish off the lower section here. We'll take one of these panels and move it out of the way. So we'll do the front one first. And make sure we don't leave the magnets on this section of the film that's going to be laid down in the car. They will leave impressions in the film, or they're likely to. They may not, but we're going to avoid that risk. We want to minimize that. All right. So for the most part, I have to position this film a little further back. There's the edge of the door, but I'm going to take it back about an inch. All right. I'm going to make sure that we're good over here, which we are. We're good over here. It looks like we're good everywhere. All right. We're going to start by peeling off the backing paper, starting at whatever end you're more comfortable with. And I'm going to show you how we're going to glass this in one shot around the door. So just moved it. Okay. Stick that magnet there. This is a very sensitive film, so we want to make sure that we're being careful when we're removing the backing paper. So we can kind of just generally tack that down on opposite edges here while I remove the rest of the backing paper. All right. So now that we're at this point right now, we can start glassing the film. So we're going to lift off Always quick pulls. We're going to pull and spread out the top and spread out the bottom. So I'm pulling down and I'm pulling out. We need to do that. It's very important that we do that because we're glassing and contouring this film around the door. I'm going to put magnets here for just some extra security while I glass the other side. So again, I'm going to lift it back because we need to fix up all that right there. I may have to go back and readjust still. So again, I'll take the magnets, stick them here. Fix this up, and we should be good right after this. That's totally fine. I'll fix that. But as you can see, I put the magnet there and it stopped at the magnet. So that's a good example of having the magnet on the film on the opposite side, because if I hadn't, this whole piece may have lifted right off. And it may have hit the ground and would have caused an issue. So I'm just going to pull down now and finish glassing that. I'm not sure, we might need to fix this up a little bit right here. So it's a kind of a big wrinkle right there. So I'm going to go bottom to top right now. Okay. I'm going to spread the film out. And there we have some good glass. Perfect. So now that we're at this point, we can start by squeegeeing the air out of the film. So I have some soap and water. It's actually in a Vvivid Shield Guard spray bottle. You can use actually Vvivid Shield Guard for the application spray. I'm just using a little soap and water. Make sure your buffer is always clean. If it's not and it has some debris in it, it will scratch the film. So I'm going to start at that hard line right there and work down. And the reason why is because if we start working up to this line, we're going to trap air right on this hard edge right here. I'm going to work all the air away from that edge. So don't worry about getting big bubbles like that. We can just push down on them if they end up being a little too big. The temperature in here today is around 80, so it's pretty warm. So what's happening right now is the adhesive is activating, and it's heat activated adhesive. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to do is release all of this. And this is a way to work around this problem right here. It's not difficult. Okay. So now that we've gone up to that point, we can just lay this film completely relaxed. I'm adding a little tension over here with my left hand. And then once I get here, I'll balance this out. There's a little air there. Let's finish that off. I'll balance this out, make sure it catches up. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves from one side to the next. So making sure that we're always staying uniform across when we're squeegeeing is very important. And you'll see the air releases a bit better. Once the film starts to hang, which it's pretty much doing right now, we're good. So right now there's no tension on this film to the door. You can see it's just draped right there. So we're allowed to add tension wherever we need to in order to draw these wrinkles out. I'm not adding a lot of tension, I'm just adding a little bit. Got ahead of myself there, so I trapped some air above where I had squeegeed. Okay. So we're going into a recessed area right now, and as you can see, I'm just laying the film right into it. So there's no stretching. Okay. We're coming up to the trim. I wonder if that FedEx delivery is for me. All right, so we're gonna come up to that trim and kind of stop there. Don't squeegee too far past where that trim is. Draw that line off with your squeegee if you can. The reason why we have the masking tape there or the painter's tape there is to allow us to tuck in to this area really nicely. So I'm going to tuck right in before we do any trimming, making sure we're nice and thorough. I might as well get rid of this piece now that we're down here. I'm going to keep the blade pointed down. I don't want to keep the blade pointed up because if I slip, I'm going to come up and I'm going to scratch the film or the area that we've already laid down. I don't want to do that. So we're going to point the blade down. Also, it will give you a little extra film to tuck in. Make sure your blade is always fresh. And another thing I can suggest is always looking at the panel and where all the areas are that you need to wrap and cover before you start wrapping that panel. Because if you don't know what you're wrapping and how far in you need to go, you're going to have a problem. You're not going to remember. So you can always, when you're starting out, take a picture. All right, sorry, I just had an interruption there with FedEx. You wanted to take a picture of the car. All right, so now that I have that trimmed off there, I'm going to go over it with my squeegee again, making sure that that's thorough. We can get rid of this tape. And we have a nice clean edge that's all tucked in on the bottom. We're going to go over this edge with our finger right here, making sure it's nice and straight and sealed off. We still have to squeegee the top section, which we haven't done yet. And that's what happens when you have a rose gold car. Everyone wants to take a picture. So we're going to finish squeegeeing off the top here, getting all the air out. Okay. For the door handle, I'm going to pull up and kind of contour that film in a bit. So it's not, we don't have so much slack in the door handle area. If we have too much slack in the door handle area, it's going to bunch up and we're going to have issues when we go to squeegee all that film in there. So all I did was pull up and over it a bit. It does throw off the film a bit as far as your glass goes, but you can always work that out. But it's, trust me, it's recommended that you do it that way, especially when you're working with chrome. With other films, you'll have a chance to correct it. With chrome, we don't really have a chance to correct it. So. Okay, we're just going to work our way up to the top. It's hot as hell in here today. Okay. We're going to go right up to where the window trim would normally be. This piece I couldn't take off, so we have to tuck up to it, leave a little excess to trim underneath it, and tuck in. Okay. It's not necessary that you run the film this high up and into this area. Sometimes it is, because sometimes a bit of this white would peek through where that window trim goes. So I always try to be a little more thorough when it comes to that. I've experienced it before where we put the window trim back on and there's a little touch of white just showing from that piece. And it's not common that you would wrap it, but in certain situations you do have to. So we're gonna trim off a lot of this right here. Come out. Okay, so we're nicely right up to the top or the bottom of this black edge right here. This will all be covered with the window trim. I'm gonna bring the blade and cut it right down. Bringing it down on this door side, the rear passenger door side. We're cutting gently because there is a rubber trim in there and I don't want to cut that rubber trim. Oh, we can get rid of this. So what I recommend doing before doing too much trimming is always finish off the door handle area. Because if we screw this up, we're going to have to rewrap the whole door. I'm going to grab a wrap glove right now. And a bit of heat. Where is it? I seem to have lost an extension cord here. So I'm just going to trim this off and continue on. So we're cutting again on the fender side. I stopped right here and cut this piece out because I'm not sure if I have to tuck in a little further in the door once I open it up. So we do have some white showing in there. We have to make sure that we go all the way in. So I left a little excess. All right, so there's an extension cord now. It's magically appeared out of nowhere. My wife went digging for one. All right. Okay. So we're going to add just a touch of heat just to help this conform a little bit. We're going to work it in extremely slowly. Okay. Now I've nearly blocked off this area over here, and I'm going to work the air to this section over on this side. You can't make a mistake here. So patience is extremely important. Okay. Now that I've done that, what I want to do is trim around this to alleviate a bit of tension. So I'm trimming around this screw that's right here, and it's going to help the vinyl drop. Because this becomes a huge indentation here, and it can be an extreme recess with a lot of stretch, and we want to minimize that. So this will help just create a lot of slack, and now we can continue on, working it into this recess. Very, very carefully, making sure we're being thorough. Okay. I hope you're appreciating Andrew's photography skills right now. He's listened to what you had to say about getting in there and getting some better angles, so we're working on that. It's all constructive criticism in the end. Work this area in as well, very slowly, starting from the outside. Adding an adequate amount of heat because we need to get it in there. Okay. I find using my fingers better. You can use your squeegee if you like. I'll even show you. I just find I have a bit more control with the with my finger and the glove. But you can get in there nicely with your squeegee, making sure that we're not leaving any air behind. Okay. We're gonna finish this off. As you can see the entire shape of the outline of where we're gonna be trimming around now. So once we get to that point, we're gonna let this cool, we're gonna trim out those holes around these little brackets right here. That way the clips, or sorry, the spacers can go back in. They're actually seals for the door handle itself. So now we're gonna round off the top right here. I'm going to trim it off as nicely as possible. Back of the blade on the back side of the top of the door. Okay, I'm adding tension. You can see I'm pulling the film away and I'm adding tension. It helps maintain a straighter cut. Okay? And go over that quickly with our finger. So in here, it's not going to be, it doesn't have to look so pretty since this trim is not removable whatsoever. We just have to make sure that we're underneath this trim completely. So it can be a bit difficult. Always cutting a little extra is better than cutting too little. If we cut too little, we're going to have to start over again. It's definitely a no-go. So I'm going to leave some excess. And I'm going to try tucking this in once I get enough of this off. Okay, again, I left some more excess on that end because I'm not sure yet until I open the door how far in I need to go. So we're going to get that in there. We're going to help it by lifting up this trim. Okay, that's perfect. Now we can go in and we can get in here a bit if we need to with the blade and trim off some of that excess. Got a little air in here and I'm really picky even though no one's going to see it. A little bit of air in there wouldn't compromise the integrity of this install. So don't even worry if you had a little air bubble on this edge right here. Once you put the trim back on, it wouldn't really even matter. Okay. What I'm going to do right now is go over this edge before I open the door, just to round it off slightly. Because I don't want it to snag on the fender. Okay. Go over this slightly as well. We're going to open the door and finish off this piece. And this is where the details are, guys, because if you miss something like this, it's going to show white or the color of the car, and we don't want that. So being thorough and getting it in there is extremely important. Okay, I'm going to go underneath with my blade because I can actually see if I look from the bottom. Okay. Go over this again. Make sure everything's nice and flat, nice and smooth. We'll take our heat gun, add a little bit of heat to this, get it around. Okay. And we're good. So afterwards, we'll stick this trim piece back on. We'll stick that trim piece back on. I'm not going to show you guys all that stuff. It's super boring. I'm going to finish off the door side edge. I always lead with the heat gun, and then I'll lead back. And I do this in a couple of swoops, okay? I'm going to show you what I do with this area here, because this area will have excess material. Because this is a bend outside. If this was a bend going in, we wouldn't have excess material. But because this is protruding, we have excess material here. So if we won't fold this over properly, we're gonna have wrinkles on the edge and it's gonna look ugly. So what we need to do is heat it. Once we get the film, the rest of the film kind of ahead of it a little bit, we're gonna heat it and roll our finger around, okay? Just on corners like that, okay? That way, it's nice and clean on the opposite side. So again, you can see I don't do this in one swoop. I do this in multiple passes. Now, I want Andrew to show you right now what that looks like on the back side. So we have a nice, clean, straight line, top to bottom. The seam is almost endless. It ends just perfectly. I haven't cut on any paint whatsoever. So it's done the right way. And we have enough material here where we're not gonna run into issues down the road. I see some guys wrap all the way up to here. That's not necessary. It just makes removal down the road a huge pain. So we wanna make sure that we're doing this for longevity purposes, and also keep in mind that this may come off one day. And we wanna make sure that we're able to remove this without fighting with it for a week. Shouldn't take more than a few hours. All right, so we're gonna do something similar over here, but because we don't have, it's a little more difficult because we can't get our finger in here. But we do have to do this, the same technique we did over there, to this corner right here. So we do have to push in. We have to be cautious when we're doing this right now not to burn the fender. So I'm gonna go in a little bit more with my finger, just however far the film will push in with my finger. And then the rest is gonna be a squeegee. So, okay, I'm pushing in. And for the most part, I'm gonna push in most of the way down right now, just to get it around, because we have excess film on the other side that we can't see right now. So we wanna make sure we're being thorough. We can't see if it's wrinkling up or anything. Once we get it around a certain portion, we can take our squeegee and then glide it down the backside. I'm losing my buffer, looks like. Okay, we're gonna push against it. There are special tucking tools that you can buy. Avery makes them. I don't have them. I don't use them. I've never had to use them, so it's not really important in my mind. But it will make your life easier and to be able to tuck in areas like this. So we're gonna go over it a couple times, making sure everything's good, and that is gonna be good. So that is that door right there. Once we clean it up, I mean, there's soap and water all over it right now. It's a little bit smeared. Once we clean it up, it's gonna look as gorgeous as the other side of the car does. We're gonna move on to this door. I'm gonna do it in a separate video. Just maybe I won't even do two doors. You know, I don't even really think there's kind of a point in doing two doors, because this door is exactly the same as this door, except this door has a rubber trim here, and we're just gonna tuck it into that rubber trim. I'll show you. And this is kind of a unique situation with this door, where it actually has this rubber trim here. A lot of them has metal. I mean, there is metal behind that that you would want to cover as well. But with this one, we don't need to, because this rubber trim is sealing that off and it's covering it for us. So it's actually even easier to do than most doors. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video of the door and all the rest of them that I've posted. I'm gonna do one of the hood still. We're doing it in Boss logo on top of the hood underneath the film, which will be my logo. And that's pretty much it. So if you guys want to see some inside pictures, behind the scenes pictures, detailed pictures, some video with music, please check out our Instagram, CK Raps. But we also have Facebook. We don't always post our complete projects on YouTube, so please check those out. We do have a website as well. If you're interested in getting a quote or anything like that, please feel free to give us a shout. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.